Tracy. Friend Tracy told me that I could start the video with my phone horizontal and it should work. That way we can see both paintings at the same time. And I've got this little system rigged up. So, hi, I have Janice and Melina and Nancy on here. Yay. Nancy, are you working tonight? You have the night off. Whitney, yay. Okay, so anyway, let's go through, in case, I think everybody knows me, but I'm Diana, and I'm an art teacher in at Washington High School. I've been teaching in KCK since 1979, so it's a long time. But anyway, I've been doing these paint parties for probably about 5 years, I think, and because of the stay home, you know, the lockdown, I thought we'd start doing them online, and it's kind of fun, so anyway, that's what we're gonna do. So, if you don't have acrylic paints, you can use watercolors, you could use just colored pencils and draw, you can use food coloring. If you have the main three primary colors, red, yellow, and blue, you can make pretty much any color. If you add black and white to that, you can make any color darker and any color lighter. And so it gives you a lot of options. First of all, can everybody hear me? Can everybody hear me okay? I need somebody thumbs up or something. Wave. Let me know if you can hear me. I guess you'd tell me if you can't hear me. I'm guessing. Okay. So I guess I'll keep going. So anyway, I have a plate, and I prefer styrofoam plates because sometimes with the paper plates, the paint will start to seep through or whatever. If you want to use it really wet and put water in it, then you have a problem with that. Oh, I'm sorry you're not feeling well, Nancy. Hopefully it's not the coronavirus. Yay, thank you, Alicia. Okay, so anyway, we'll go ahead and get going. I have an assortment of brushes, some old house paint brush and some wider brushes and some thinner brushes. I have more hiding back here too, if I think I need them, but I don't think I will. Like I said, I prefer styrofoam plates just because they're, you know, the paint won't leak through if you let it sit there for a long time. Tonight, I'm gonna try using Q-tips also. That's what I did for the redbuds, the blossoms. That worked really well. I saw this on Pinterest and got the idea from that. And so basically, if you don't have a rubber band or Q-tips, you can just use an old brush for that part and dab. But it was kind of fun using these, and I'll show you that in a little bit. I have my water cup. I graduated to a bigger one tonight. The cat keeps trying to drink out of it. And we have, I'm seeing if I can get on here. Somebody wants to join the group. Hang on just a second. I'm afraid my dog's gonna, I fed him so he would be quiet, but I have the curtains open and he can see me, and so he likes to talk. He's a husky, and you know huskies are very vocal. Okay, so I have that. Confirm. All right, paper towels. I just put a trash bag down on my tablecloth so that I wouldn't ruin it, and I probably will anyway. I painted this one last night, and I got paint all over my laptop, which was sitting here, but it'll scrape off eventually. Let me see, I've got an easel just so that you guys can see what I'm doing. You don't need an easel, you can just lay it flat. And you'll need something to trace around for your moon. I've used this, what do you call it, orange juice squeezer or whatever. I might use a smaller thing tonight. I might use the cup tonight. I don't know, it worked okay, but I'm using a little bit smaller canvas. This one is a 16 by 20 stretch canvas. This one is a 14 by 18 canvas board, flat canvas boards. These are really a lot cheaper, and anyway, just depends on what you prefer. Some people like the stretch canvas because if you paint the sides, you can just stick it on a nail on the wall when you're all done. And some people prefer these because they're a lot easier to frame because you don't have the thickness of it to worry about. So you can stick it in any frame pretty much. So those work really well. All right, any questions before we start? Okay, Susie's on here, yay. Cindy's on here. Turn my camera, which way? Which way do you need the camera? Can you not see? from what I see, hang on, let me see if I can get the live thing on here. On my laptop, it's not showing up, hang on. Okay, I got this sticky stuff. We'll see if it actually holds very well. Thank you for letting me know. It would be nice to have it horizontal because, but I think we'll be able to see everything. And that way you can actually see the palette too pretty well. Okay, now I can see what you guys are seeing. Thank you, I appreciate that. All right, so paper towels, paint. I'm going to start with my fattest brush that I have. You want to start with a nice fat brush. It's okay if you don't want to put it in water. The white that I have is pretty watery. Like I said, I usually use cheaper paint, you know, like the cheap Blick paint. But as I was cleaning, I found some of my much better quality acrylic paint. So I'll use some of that. But for the thick white, I don't want to use thick white on this. I just want a thin layer of white. So I have this really runny white paint. Comes in a bottle like this. So are we on? Hang on. Making sure we're still on. No problem. Okay. That's good. All right. Keep talking to me so I know you can hear me. So one thing you might want to do is, since a lot of this is horizontal, is you might want to do your brush strokes horizontally instead of vertically like I was just doing, just because it will kind of help with the whole effect when we get that far. So I'm putting a layer of white on here. I'm not worrying about these corners so much because I do want the corners to be darker. Doing this across here, and you can't see it really, but trust me, it's like a polar bear in a blizzard here. So have the white on there. Now on my computer, it's not showing up very well. That's weird. Hopefully you're getting video. Are you getting video? I hope. Thumbs up. Okay. So I'm going to use a couple of different kinds of blue. Now this actual painting has a lot of pink and purple in it too. And so in the sky, if you want to use purple, if you don't have purple, depending on the blue you have, you can make purple. I haven't seen anything new. Let me see. Let me make sure people are on here. Okay. So I have this color, which is a magenta color. It's going to be for my purpley pink stuff. I'm hoping you guys aren't responding because you're painting. That's what I'm hoping. So I have purpley pink, and I have a couple different blues. I have this one, it's a ultramarine blue. Ultramarine blue mixes into a really nice purple. So if you don't have a purple, this is a good one to use to mix with some red or pink for purple. And I have this lighter blue. It's more of a turquoisey blue. This will not work very well to make a purple. Turquoise blue will not. So you want to save that to use it by itself, and don't mix it with the red. because it's got, the turquoise blue has some green in it. Whenever you mix opposites on a color wheel, like red and green, it turns brownish, and so it would make a very dull looking one. I am going to put some of this nice white acrylic paint on here too, since I used some of the other up. I'd probably use more white on this project than anything else on this painting. So I've got two different blues and the red, which is going to turn into kind of a purple. I'm going to start with the darker blue, and I'm going to put it up in the corners, up in these corners and down in the corners here. And after I kind of dab some of this darker blue around there, then I'm going to pull it in and let it blend in to the whites that we have. So it'll get lighter as it comes down. So darker in the corners and then just pull it in. It's kind of hard to maneuver on this thing. It wants to wiggle. I personally prefer painting on a flat surface, but I guess if you had a really good quality easel where you could clamp it on there, that would be good. So I'm going to keep going with this. And you can add your other blue too if you want. But if you're going to put some purple in it, I would stay away from using this blue right if you're going to put the purple in it, or the pink, because it may not blend real well. We'll see. I'm going to go ahead and pull this down. Go to the edges. So it's just going to make a nicer composition if you blend a couple of different colors in there. So whether it's a red, whether it's a pink, doesn't really matter. So I'm going to take some of this pink now and kind of mix in here. Kind of pull this down. I'm going to kind of meet in the middle. So I'm working from the top. I have the darker blue on the corners, kind of pulling it in. I'm going to pull this down, and then same thing down here. I'm going to put some of this purple. I actually didn't put hardly any purple in the water on that one, but after looking at it today, I'm thinking I kind of wish I had some purple, because the purple would reflect into the water just, you know, like the blue does in the sky. So at least I've seen it do that. So if you want to have the blue of the water different, you can. I kind of did on this painting. I made the blue in the water. I used more of the turquoise blue for the water and more of the ultramarine blue for the sky, but it doesn't matter. They can be exactly the same. So I'm kind of blending this in, and notice I'm going sideways. Especially it's important for the water to have, make sure my computer comes back up. It's really important for the water to have it go horizontal, your strokes, because the way the ripples in the water work can make it look more realistic. We're going to add more of those later. So pull this around. If it's not blending, you might need to just dip it in the water just a little. I try not to use too much water, because then what happens is it starts dripping. It'll run down your canvas, and then a lot of times when you go to wipe it up, then it wipes off what you've just done, and it's hard to get it to match again. So those of you who've done that, I know you know what I'm talking about. So, plus when you use a lot of water, it will dry pretty quickly because you're putting a thin layer on usually, but it sometimes it doesn't cover as well. You can see the canvas through sometimes if you use a lot of water. It looks, you know, it has kind of a water paint quality, which is fine. Some of you may be using water paints tonight, which is fine. That'd be great. I know last time somebody actually drew it with just colored pencils, which it turned out really nice. So you can use anything. You can use crayons, you can use chalk. You could do any kind of medium with this. So I kind of like a little dab of that turquoise blue up in here. I'm just making sure that all my canvas is covered. And I'm going to put some more turquoise blue down below here, because I kind of like the look of that. So I'm going to have it darker at the very bottom and kind of pull it up. All right. So I'm gonna let that sit for just a smidge. It's you'll find that if you're using too small of a brush, you're probably not even close to being done with this, because the bigger brush covers more quicker, and so it works a little better. So I'm gonna let mine dry for a little bit, let you guys finish painting up your background. Hopefully you're getting that done. This video is just weird what's showing up on Facebook. I hope it's not that choppy on your screen. It is for me. There we go. This video is just weird. Oh, this like, that's funny. It's not that choppy. Let's stop that. Okay, I guess it's because I didn't have it running. All right, so as soon as this dries, we're going to use a little bit of black. Now you could use something else besides black if you don't want it. You know, the contrast with the black it makes it pretty dramatic. And so if you want it to be a softer look, you could use like a brown or gray, mix some just a dark purple or whatever, mix a bunch of colors together, make a really dark color if you want it to have a softer quality to it. But it is a very dramatic looking painting because the black and the contrast that's created. And so I kind of like it, so I'm going to do it that way. So I'm going to put a little bit of black. A little bit of black will go quite a ways. You don't need very much, probably about a quarter size amount. And I'm going to wait until I have kind of the thumbs up from some of you. So I know there's no comments, so I don't know whether we're still doing it. Let me see. I'll come back here from some of you. So I know there's no comments, so I don't know whether we're still doing it. Okay, thank you, Christy. She let me know she's still painting her background. I suspected that. I was just wanting to make sure we're still on. So figure out what you want to trace around too. We're not going to trace yet, but I'm going to get this green cup over here. And I think that might work a little better. It's a little bit smaller canvas. You can just, I don't know, you know, like the margarine. I don't eat margarine anymore, but the little margarine tubs, the lids to those would be perfect size probably if you want a really big moon. Trying to think what the last moon was called. I know it was about a week ago. There was a really big moon. And they do look enormous when they're setting sometimes. All right, so what I did is I put some black on here, and I'm going to start by the horizon line. The horizon line is where the sky touches the ground or the water. And on this painting, it's about smack dab in the middle. I mean, if you don't get it exact, that's no problem. But what you want to do is get a little bit of black, find a brush that you feel comfortable using to paint your horizon line. You could use like a pointy, skinny one like this, and just draw a line across like this. Or you can use one that's flat. And the nice thing about a flat one is that you can use it to where you draw a fat line, which I would not do for this, or you can use it to do a skinny line, depending on how you hold the brush, you know, whether it's fat or thin. So I think I'm going to just use one of the pointy brushes. It's this is a number 7. I don't know. I don't have any really tiny ones, but we don't need a really tiny one for this. But I don't want to just use the black straight the way it is because it's a little too harsh. So I'm going to water it down a little, mix it in with a little bit of gray or white to make gray, because the black and the white makes gray. So I'm mixing it in with a little bit of my white, and I just want to start by making a line across here. And that way, if I mess up, it's not going to be that hard to cover it up, hopefully. So I've got some gray. I'm going to figure it about in the middle, and it does not have to be perfectly straight, right? Because a horizon line is never really perfectly straight, unless you're in western Kansas, then sometimes it is. But I'm just going to bring a line across like this. Bring a line across like this. Okay, and that's going to be a horizon line. And then we're going to have like two kind of hills or mountains. I'm going to have it reflected in the water, so you get to do kind of a mirror image of it. And you can make these mountains or hills however you want. In the picture, it looks like I'm crooked here. Let me measure. A lot of times I'll use my paintbrush and kind of use it to measure to see if I've got it about the same on both sides. Yeah, I've got it higher on this side, I can tell. So I will just bring this side up a little bit more. And then when I'm putting my mountain in, it's going to be okay. All right, so I'm going to go in now with my gray still. I don't want to do anything too dark yet, but I think I'm going to mix a little bit of red and blue in with my black so that it's not just quite harsh black. It's going to have some color in it. So I don't know if you can see that. I mixed some red and some blue in with this black and a little bit of white. And then I'm gonna start, so mountain doesn't come up too high. Maybe 3 fingers tops. I wouldn't make it too much higher than that, or maybe 4 if your canvas is larger. You don't want it to have it too tall on each side. So I'm gonna have it about this tall on this side, and about this tall on this side, and then down at the bottom too. And I want that to be a lot lighter since it's a reflection. I'm gonna lighten that up a lot more. Down here, I'm gonna have about here, and then to about here. So now the fun part is you get to try to do a mirror image, and I'm gonna start by doing a mountain that's gonna come down, and it's just gonna be bumpy, and it's gonna come down to like the water's edge or the horizon line, and then it's gonna come up and do a bump, and bump up like this. So there's that. Then I want to lighten my paint up a little bit. Since it's a reflection, I don't want it as harsh or as dark. And same kind of thing, I'm going to try to do a mirror image. Now, I think it might work better if you turn it and maybe try to do a mirror image this way. It might be easier than trying to do it straight upside down. Okay, so at least I'm going to try it this way. Bump out like that, and then it's going to come in like this and do a little bump. And then it's going to come down. And then it's going to start combing back up again. Like that. All right, so let me try. Does not have to be perfect, but kind of get the idea. I can see here that I kind of didn't bump where I probably should have. But, so there's our basic mountains, right? This one on the top, above the horizon line, is going to be darker. And then we're going to fill this one in below. We're going to lighten it up with more gray and blue or purple or whatever. So let me start painting in my mountains on the top here. Like I said, I'm going to put some blue in here and I'm going to kind of have a darker area, kind of like right here. You want to kind of make them scraggly looking. So you can just kind of scribble the paint on. Have a nice edge though. You want the edge to be nice and you don't want it to be fuzzy. So you have to have a nice solid edge, not straight edge, but a solid edge. Then you can go in and mix in some like blue and white for highlights. And you can use different sizes of brushes too. If the brush you're using is taking too long to fill it in, you could use a little bit bigger brush. I'm kind of scrubbing this in. I want to make my little highlight part here. You could have snow on your mountains, and so I couldn't tell from the painting, the photograph, if it was supposed to have snow on it or not. I kind of lightened it up along the top, especially right where, since our moon is going to be like right here, you could put the moon in the exact middle if you want to. If you wanted to, you could put the moon right in the middle. But if you have the moon here, then it's going to create a highlight on this side of this mountain right here. It's going to be lighter. And also right here, it's going to be lighter. So I'm going to get some white and mixing it in with the blue and the, so it creates kind of a little textured mountain thing there. Makes it look more rugged looking. Okay. And then same thing on this side. Where our moon is going to be, it can be lighter because the light's going to shine on it. And then on these jagged terrain here, I'm going to fill in the rest of this. I kind of like the look of that. Sometimes the freer you are with it, just be nice and loose with it. It's kind of creates a nice effect. Quite a bit of white there. I need to kind of do something with that. Don't want it quite that white. You can have the brush strokes going in whatever directions you want to for this because, you know, when you see mountains in real life, the way the faces of them come. I mean, it depends on what kind of mountains. I mean, there's some that are very smooth with the grass and trees on them and stuff, but the scraggly ones with the rocks and stuff, you have rocks falling and crevices and all kinds of things. So I'm just kind of mixing those colors, bringing that along. All right, I think I'm going to leave that right there, maybe. I might do a little bit of dark right in here. Yeah, I kind of like that. So I got my mountain range across the top. And then we're going to be doing our reflection in the water. And for that, you basically are doing the same kind of thing. If you made it really dark in one spot, you can make it darker on the water, but we want it to be a lot lighter. So I'm going to mix water and gray, white, and blue. I'm going to use a lot more blue. I'm just going to go in and kind of start filling it in. It might be even still a little too dark. And I want to do strokes that are mainly horizontal because I've seen some reflections in the water to where like the ripples kind of cut through the water or cut through the image. I can show you that in a little bit. This needs a little dark spot like right in here. Want my edge to be nice. After we get these painted in, we're going to go in and put a little bit of white on there for water. Like, I don't know if you can see on that one over there, there's some like waves, like up close to where they would hit the shore. And you don't want them all one shade. You know, kind of mix your shades, you know, blue. You have darker blue and lighter blue and grayish blue. I kind of wish I had a fan brush. A fan brush would be really cool to try to do the ripples in the water with this. Get my edges. I'm gonna put a little bit of a darker streak, kind of, maybe like in here. And then maybe a little darker right in here. Then I can go in with some white, make it a little lighter in places. That's a little too much right there. Trying to decide which one I like better. It's funny how a lot of times in a picture they look different than they do in real life. I see in looking at this that I have some places where the canvas is showing through. So I want to go back in and cover that up. I just sit, and if I don't stop, I just keep messing with it. When I was in college, I had an art professor who told me I didn't know when to stop on paintings, that I would overpaint them. And I guess that's something you gotta learn to do, is just to stop when it's time, quit painting, but it's easy to just keep messing with it. So, yeah, Tyler, I forgot about the watercolors are going to kind of blend together, which is okay. What I would just dab with the paper towel, and if you had a hairdryer handy, you could zap it with the hairdryer, dry it a little quicker. Yeah, and the idea of watercolors is they are supposed to be wet and transparent, and then sometimes it got a lot of white there. I don't know where that came from. Oh, well, I'm pretending I have white snow on my mountains, I guess. Playing with the mountains here. We're gonna paint, like I said, some little white, and the actual picture that I was looking at, anyway, I digress. What we are going to do is take our flat brush. If you have a flat brush, kind of like this one, okay? And we're gonna hold it to where you've got a skinny line going horizontal. And let me show you this, how I'm gonna do some waves. You wanna use, if you have a thick white, you wanna use kind of a thick white, and up close to where, like the mountains, this is water coming up, the actual edge of the shore is gonna be like right about in here where these two meet. And like on that one, I have the actual line darker, so I could make it darker right where the two meet, or you could leave it kind of fuzzy like I have it. But I'm just gonna go in with this brush sideways, and I'm gonna make some little squiggles. And they don't have to go all the way across because waves don't always do that. So they're gonna be pretty small, up real close to the horizon line where the waves are bashing against the rocks up there. And then as they come down, they can get a little bigger, and you can kind of scrub them if you want, like that. And then I'm not gonna worry about putting the little ripples in yet, because I'll wait till we do our moons. And once we do the moons, then it can, we can go back and put some little ripples effects in there. I need to put a little bit more paint right there. All right. So we need to get to this point, and it needs to be somewhat dry, because in order for us to put our moon on there, to trace around it, we don't want to be sticking our hand in wet paint because it will smear. So we'll let that dry a little bit. I'll let you get done, and then I will demonstrate I have a cup here that I haven't used. And so you need to figure out what you're going to use to do your moon with, and you want to figure out where you want your moon. Hard part, what I found, is getting them exactly the same. You could even do like one, if you had a big circle, you could do like it's setting and do half here and half here. Does that make sense? I could do it that way to where, you know, if I had a great big circle, and so half of it would be here and half of it would be down below, that would be a lot easier than trying to, because the problem I ran into is I did this, and then when I brought it down here, I didn't have it quite exactly the same, and I had to finagle it a little bit. I'm going to see if I can find a bigger circle and do that. I think that's a good idea. Okay, so what I have here, this might be a little too big. I don't know. I kind of want to do this, but yet I don't know. I could put this is a coffee container lid. So where I lined it up halfway and did half up here and half down there. Oh well, I'll do it the other way. I'm afraid I don't want to mess it up. It might mess it up. Maybe. All right, so what I need is clean brush. I'm going to use my little pointy brush for this. And some white paint. That's ultramarine. That looks purple. Ah, that's cool. Yeah, that looks purple on the picture. Anyway, that's cool. I don't know why. Ultramarine looks very violet sometimes to me. All right, so what I'm going to do, I think I'm going to move it a little bit more towards the center than what it was there. I'm going to use some white paint, kind of runny white paint. I've got it lined up right here. I want to make a little mark right there. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trace around. And I don't want to go into my mountain. Be careful. I don't know if you can see that. If you traced into your mountain, just kind of blend it in real quick with your finger or whatever. So I have the top part. I hope you can see that. Yeah. And now I'm going to come down below. The thing is, when I did this, I wanted to make sure, you see how it's just going a little bit into the here, so I know when I come down here, it's got to go a little bit into this moon section here. And I want to line this up where it's going to touch the same spot, hopefully. Anyway, I think this was the trickiest part on the whole thing, was lining up my little moons so that they... So if any of you want to do it the other way, where you take one big old circle and trace around it, I can understand that. Okay, so I got that, and it's kind of rough. I have some little marks that I don't want on there. So once I have your moon kind of outlined, if you want to go ahead, I would just go ahead and paint it all white to start with, and then we're going to go in and add some blue and purple or whatever to it, or ultramarine to it, to get some shading in the moon. But ideally, to start with, it's going to be a white moon. So I need to clean my brush off. I keep confusing myself since I have two green cups here. One has water and one's empty, and I keep reaching for the empty one to clean my brush out. So I'm going to just paint these in as neatly as possible. Try to get my edges nice and neat. I'm using kind of a medium-sized flat brush for this part. You can use whatever works best for you. I almost got the paint too wet though, it almost dripped. Thank goodness it didn't. Don't want that to happen. There's something on there, hold on. It's like a brush. You ever do that where you get like a hair, a brush hair, and it's like irritates me. It's like it's not supposed to be on there. So carefully go along your horizon line, Fill in your moon. If you didn't like your horizon line, I guess that's a good time to change it up a little bit. I have my head in the way. Sorry about that. Let's see. One thing I did on the two moons is the one on the bottom, I did little sideways lines to kind of show ripples through the moon, the water, and then the one on the top, I kind of scrubbed it with the brush, kind of dabbed it to make it look more textured, hopefully the way a moon might. There's like a hair or something that I need to get off of there. But I do that after I get the white all filled in. I'm going to go in and add some color to it. You could do gray. It could be a gray moon, blue moon, whatever kind of moon you want. So, okay, we have the basic white, and put it in a little thicker on the one on the top anyway. I'm going to make sure it's a very bright moon up here anyway. And then I'm going to go in and add a little bit of blue and just kind of crunch this in here. I kind of need a yuckier brush. You want to use yucky brushes when you're dabbing because it's not good for your brushes unless you tap. You can tap like that. It won't be too dangerous. Let me see if I can have one in here that's kind of yucky. Oh, this was pretty yucky. Looks like a dog chewed on part of this. This one's seen better days. So I'm gonna go in and dab. And this is kind of dark, really, the blue, but I might make it a little bit more of a grayish. So it's like tapering to where it's gonna be really light kind of towards the top, and then it's gonna be darker towards the mountain. I'm gonna mix some of this other blue into. I do have to be careful I don't mess up the edge. And it basically has kind of a white edge around the moon. And that might be a little too dark. You can always go in and add more white if you feel like you got it too dark, like I think I did. So I'm gonna go in and lighten this up a little, but dabbing more white on it. Nice textury moon. Looks kind of cool. Okay, I think that'll do. And then I'll give you a little bit to do that, and then we'll work on the bottom. I think I need more waves on my water. I don't think my waves are showing up very well. When I look over there, the waves in the water show up a lot better than the ones I did over here. So I think I need them to be whiter. I kind of scrub this too. For your waves, if you kind of scrub it a little, like dab, the waves get thick and thin. Like that. I kind of like that. Okay, so I need to add a little bit of the same blue to my bottom one, but I don't want it to be all bumpy and textured because I'm gonna do little lines through it. So I'm just gonna kind of paint horizontally, adding a little bit of that blue. Kind of like this. Could be a little darker. Kind of like that. So let me know if we're ready to do the little ripples in the, we're just gonna do some kind of little lines across. You don't have to if you don't want to. I'll show you how I do them. And basically I kind of use the colors that I've used before. So I want to kind of find those colors. So I have too much pink there. Let me get rid of that. So I want to do some of this kind of white, and I'm just going to kind of go in and with the light blue and white and just do little ripples like this. Just kind of go back and forth. So the edges are kind of fuzzed out a little. Thing is that you got to use the skinny side of this brush, and it's not being real helpful right now. Not being real skinny. So if you don't like the look of this, you can just leave it the way you have it. Or like I said, you can put little ripples in where it kind of softens the edges that we painted of your mountains and stuff in the water. I don't know, when you look at water, things reflecting in the water, a lot of times you'll see the ripples go through them, and kind of like put a little more ripples there. So I don't know, I kind of like the look of that. I'm not going to come down too far because we're actually going to put quite a few redbud branches and stuff on. So I'm just doing horizontal skinny lines, kind of rippling that water effect across. Kind of like so. Ta-da! Okay, we're ready for the fun part now. Okay, so redbud trees. I have one outside my bedroom window. I love redbud trees. They're one of my favorite trees ever. And this is when they're the prettiest right now. And they're really kind of a magenta color instead of red. I mean, they're definitely not red. So look around, see if you can find, if you can only find red, that will work. And you'll have to mix white with it. If you can find like a magenta and a purple, that would be good too. All I have is this one magenta color. It's kind of like, you know, that color, but when it's mixed with white, it's a really pretty color. And then also, I mixed it with the blue to make a purple first, a light purple. And so I did light purple first, and then I put the more pinkish color on it, or even some of the dark magenta, and then I put pink, and then I added white to it and did it that way. But before we can do all that fun part, we get to paint our little tree limbs. And redbud trees are kind of spindly, and I don't know, the one I have is like the limb broke and it's like hanging real low, but it's cool looking. I have a bunch of baby ones that pop up every year, and I hate it because they always pop up where I have to tear, you know, because they're too close to the house, and so I always have to cut them off. But anyway, notice that the actual photograph of the painting that I was looking at, I couldn't really tell where the branches were coming from. They just kind of had, I mean, it looked like they had a branch coming from the side here, but it almost looked like they had trees on both sides. You could do that. You could have it to where you've got tree branches coming on both sides, but they're going to have to meet somewhere, and I was afraid that might be like a big old train wreck. So that's why I just imagined that the branches were coming off of the right side over here. Is everything backwards? Let me see. Yeah, I think everything's backwards. But anyway, so we're coming off of this side and then coming across and draping around so that your moon shows through. And there's a place at Lake of the Ozarks where we go on vacation every year, and there's a place where I always go and take a picture of the sunset because the trees, it's not redbud trees, but they have this little opening in the trees where it frames the sunset, and it's just beautiful. So anyway, we don't have a sunset here, but we have a moonset. So we want to use black, unless you want to use, you know, a lighter color or brown or something, which is fine too if you want. So I've got black. I'm going to add a little bit of red to it just so it's not quite so harsh. And so I've got this here. I'm getting it kind of nice and wet. My little white watery stuff ran into it, so it's lightening it a little. That's okay. I'm going to start at the top, and I don't know if you can see the one over there. Let me see. It's not going to wiggle very well. Okay, so we're going to start like in the top right. Well, I say top right corner. Everything's backwards, I think. It's the way it's appearing, but I'm going to start in the top corner, and I'm going to kind of angle it down. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Yeah, that's okay though. I'm going to bring it back up, make it fatter. Thing about drawing trees is where it's coming off of the tree branch is the thicker part, and then it has to get thinner as it's moving away from the main part of the tree branch. And so think of like fingers and arms. You know, you've got your trunk, you know, just like a tree trunk, you've got your trunk, and then your arms come off. They're like the branches, and then you've got the little fingers, which are like the little twigs on the ends. So you want to do that where you have little twigs coming off, you know, the arms, and then the twigs and the branches. If you have a place that gets too fat, like this right here got kind of fat, so I need to go back and fatten this up, or I can cover it up with blossoms and nobody will know. So think about that too. So I'm just going to go in, I'm just going to put a lot of little spidery lines here and there. I don't want to get too close to my moon because I want to make sure I've got room for my little blossoms to, and I'm angling one direction. I'm starting on one side and angling to the other side of the canvas. Putting some little fingers out. It's okay if they don't actually connect all the way, because like I said, we're going to fill it in with, this is just kind of like a little road map on where we're going to put our blossoms. I want to bring one down like this. This one's going to come down a little bigger. I want to have one come down like this. And I'm kind of just scribbling these on here. I wouldn't worry so much about what they look like because, like I said, we can cover them with blossoms. So I've got this one kind of good. I think I want to bring down a little bit more here. I want to bring this down to where it's almost touching the top of the mountains here. Like that. It's just my little guide. Let me see what I got there. I might bring one here. I need to get, if your brush is painting fuzzy lines, that means you don't have enough wet paint. The paint's not wet enough. And so you'll have to actually wet the paint a little, get a little thinner. All right, so this is good. I kind of have a little frame across the top with the dark, and now I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom. And it's starting at about where our reflection of our mountain is in the water. It's starting like right at the bottom of that, maybe a little bit up a little. So I'm going to start here, bringing a branch. You could even have more branches, but I don't know. I don't want to mess this up at all. So I want that to make sure it shows. So I'm going to start with the branch about, I'm going to bring it up a little bit higher than what's there. I'm going to start my branch about right here. I'm going to bring it down, curve it across, and then bring a lot of little fingers off of it. So this is going to be a little bit bigger branch. It's going to come down. It's going to curve across this way. So where you want your branch to show between your blossoms, you'll want to go back and make that nice and solid, you know, the line nice and solid and not fuzzy. But otherwise, you can just make it as fuzzy looking as you want. It's just kind of a guide. Like I said, it's our little roadmap. So put a branch there, a little twig coming off of it. I'm gonna have one coming down here. There's no right or wrong way to do this necessarily, just as long as you're getting closer to the tips of the twigs, you want them to hopefully get smaller as you're going. And the more, I don't know, you can do it kind of, you know, free feeling. Just some people get a little too stiff with it and they try to make them too straight. Tree limbs are not necessarily straight. They're usually more kind of free flowing. Kind of screwed that up, but that's okay. I'm gonna bring one up like this. And one up here like this. I'm just kind of trying to fill in just little bare spots and putting little lines. And I try not to just do one line. I try to fork it, you know, make a little fork at the end, or so it's like little twigs at the end. I just think it makes it a little bit more interesting that way. So anyway, kind of scribbly looking, but I think it'll be okay. I'm gonna clean my brush off, get some clean water, because I don't want black to mix in with my pretty little rosebud things, redbud things. I have my pony, my little miniature horse's name is Rosebud, so I get confused with Redbud. I think I'm kind of liking this second one better. It's weird. A lot of times when I'll do a painting the second time, sometimes I like the first one better, and sometimes I like the second one better. You just never know. How we doing? We getting it? Let me see. Who's Alarazan Crimson. That sounds pretty. I don't know if I said that right. Alarazan Crimson. Is that what mine is? Let me see. No, mine's magenta. Quinacridone. I can't even say that. Some kind of magenta. Tyler, I don't think I can mess your moon up any more than you. Oh, I doubt if it's messed up. I kind of doubt that. And Kelly, nice to see you. And Terry, nice to see you. Okay. So, let me know when we're ready. For this next part, I'm going to take, I probably should have switched and got more Q-tips. But I was being lazy last night and I just did 5 Q-tips, and I did the dark purple with one side, and then I flipped it over and I did the pink with the other side. But anyway, if they start to get all shaggy, you might want to get some new ones. If you don't have Q-tips, you're just gonna have to use an old brush and dab, and it'll be quick. But okay, so let me show you how we're going to do this. So I wrapped a rubber band around these Q-tips. I would use an uneven number. Something about composition-wise. You're supposed to make a much better composition to have an uneven number. And I don't know if it works for little Q-tips, but it just seems right. It seems better. I want to try to make them the same level. This one's not working very well. But anyway, after I get my Q-tips rubber banded together, like if you don't have a rubber band, I guess you could use a Band-Aid or something to stick them together. That should work. I'm gonna start by making a purple. And instead of using the Q-tips to do it, I did that last night and it kind of messed them up a little, made them shaggier than I wanted them. So I'm gonna take some of this ultramarine blue and a little bit of this dark magenta color, and I'm gonna mix these together. And it makes this really pretty purple, but it's really dark. So I'm gonna add some white to it. I don't know if you can see my purple I'm making here. Now it's more of a lavender color, which is fine. My runny white is running everywhere. Let me get some more of that dark blue, if I can find it. Oh, this is a different blue. Let's try this one. This might be interesting. This is a phthalo blue. Let's see what that does. Yeah, I think the other blue would have worked better, but that's okay. So I have purple, dark purple. I need to mix up enough that I can do a lot of buds. And I'm not going to cover everything with the dark purple, but I do want to put some dark purple all around. And it's almost, I'm going to mix more of the crimson stuff, the magenta with it, so it's more of a red violet than a violet. So got that. I'm going to lighten it up a little bit more. The thing about doing flower petals and blossoms and stuff is that you want to have lots of, same thing with green, like leaves and stuff too, is you want to have different shades of the same, different values of that color. So whether it's, you know, you start with a dark green and then you go to a medium green and then go light green. Well, same thing with petals and blossoms. You want to start with the dark first and then you're going to build on top and do lighter ones. So I'm just dabbing these Q-tips in here. I'm just going to start by dabbing around. I start by kind of where the tips of my branches are going to go. I'm kind of going around the edges of them. And like, I'm not going to cover the whole thing because I'm going to put the pink on top, right? The magenta and the pink on top. But I want some of this darker to create a shadow, give it some depth. So we're going to do that. I'm going to put the darker purple. And if your black paint is still wet, I see mine down below here is still wet, so I'm going to wait a little bit before I go down there. But I can go ahead and work up here because this is dry. If you have places where your branches are too fat or broken up or whatever, just that's where you fill it in with the dots. So this is called stippling when you dab up and down. And I wouldn't hold it the same way each time too, because you might run in the risk of having the blossoms all be similar. You know, you can twist it around different ways. I'll put some over here. So this is pretty fun. It's a little time consuming, but it does go pretty quick as far as much quicker than if you were painting each little blossom individually. That would take forever. I kind of like the look of that. So I'm going to avoid my wet spot down here and start dabbing. Still using the purple. I want to have the purple everywhere. Doing a base of purple. So notice you want to be kind of free with this. You don't want to have them all lined up perfectly in a line because it's gonna, well, I don't know. I know some people do their art that way and it's very stylized and it's very cool looking. It's not gonna look as realistic, but that's, you know, if that's the style you like, that's awesome. The thing about arts, there's really no wrong way. You can just be creative and try new things and see what happens. Don't, I just kind of swiped it and it makes it look like a brush stroke. You don't want to do that. You want to make sure you're dabbing up and down. I was trying to get to the very edge of the canvas and I kind of oopted. It's acting like it doesn't want to dot anymore so much. Maybe I'm running out of paint. I think it was dotting better up above. So I've got a little bit more with my dark purple. Like I said, it's getting to where it doesn't want to dot very well. I think they look a lot prettier up here. This is where I probably should switch. It's just I was being lazy, and I'm being lazy now too. I don't want to switch Q-tips. I'm going to flip it over and use this side for the lighter pink. I do want to get my edge. So I kind of just go along the branch, make sure I go beyond the tip a little bit, beyond the tip of where the twigs are, you know, and I'm going to go along this branch a little bit more. Oh, I've got a branch up here too, I forgot about. This one goes up into the mountain reflection. Okay. So you can see it looks a lot darker than the other one, right? Because it's got, it looks kind of cool though. I like it, but we want it to really pop and to look like a redbud tree, not a purple tree. So I'm going to kind of dab this off so I don't get it all over my hand. And I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to mix. I'm going to start with a darker magenta to start with, and then lighten it up as I'm going along. So let's see. Got a lot of white here. So this is a pretty dark magenta here. I've got, it's not just the magenta by itself, but I've mixed some white with it. And so it's kind of dark. Let's see what this does. And it's okay if it mixes in with the purple too. It's fine, because you're dabbing up and down. It's not going to mix a whole lot. I kind of like this. I'm going to do a little bit with this. So I'm kind of just going back and forth with the magenta and the white so that it's, I don't want it too white yet. I'm going to go back in and add more white. And I'm not going to cover all my purple. I want some of that purple showing through, because that's our shadowed area. So put some of this on. Just building layers, basically. So, yeah, like that. We're all happy mistakes, that's right. As Bob Ross said. Sometimes mistakes turn out really well. Hi, Troy. I see you're on there now. That's awesome. And Rebecca, hi. I hope you guys are all painting. If you're not painting right now, I hope you come back and try this. It's really fun. If you do it step by step, it's amazing how you'll be like, wow, look what I did. Just got to break it down. Oh, I forgot. You know, when we started out, we started with the background. And that's what I tell my students. You want to always start, well, maybe not always. There are times where you don't. But usually, especially doing a landscape, you always want to start with the background. I can't tell you how many times I've had kids do a beautiful tree and they haven't done any background. And so it's almost impossible to go back and try to paint a background around a tree or something, you know, like that. So you want to do your background first and then go back in and layer on top. Work your way forward. Start at the very back of a painting and work your way forward. That's what Bob Ross always did. Started with the sky and worked his way. Well, as you're coming down, you're coming forward too, because this is further away, and as you come down, it comes closer to you. Whoops, I got a little too much white in that. Don't want that yet. Not yet. I want at least 3 different values. I have the purple, And then I have the dark magenta. I shouldn't say dark. I mean, it's my magenta with a little bit of white. Lighten it a little bit. I think my blossoms, by doing the ones on the top first, they're smaller and they look further away, so it's working out well. And then by the time I get to the bottom, my poor Q-tips are getting kind of beat up and they're getting, leaving wider blossom marks. So they look closer, because as things get closer to you, they're going to appear larger. So it's kind of a nice effect doing it that way. I am going to have to get some new Q-tips though, I think, to make it keep looking nice. And I want to get my edges down here. I'll lift this up. So I'm going to check and see if there's any places where I kind of missed not spreading around some magenta. I want to make sure I got some magenta. If you want to go over your moon, you can. You know, some people might prefer doing that. You're welcome to do that if you want. I'd probably just get a new rubber band. That would be easier. If I can find one. Oh well. Shouldn't take me too long. Let's see. Oh, good. Good, Troy. I'm glad you can, yeah. It should just be on there. I know last week's is still on there, so you can just watch them whenever. Stop it if you need to, you know. Okay, so I'm going to grab 5 more Q-tips. I don't know, I guess you could do more than 5. I hadn't even thought about that. Do a great big glob of them. So, you like what better than the light pink? You like the purple better? Yeah, redbud trees are kind of that magenta pink color. So, I know that one looks really light, but really it's not. It's just I have a lamp shining on it and light, like I have every light in my house on. My house is pretty dark. All right, so anyway, so it's picking up the white and making it look pretty light. And I'm going to do that to this one now, just because it really makes it pop, I think. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to use the same magenta and a lot more white, so that it's going to have places where it's pretty white and places where it's more of the magenta. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to come up here and just sparingly dab around. Like again, you don't want to cover up all of what you've done before. You're just adding highlights basically. So I'm kind of doing, whoops, that's too white. I don't want it just white. I want it to, and if you get too much white, you can always go back and dab it with a little bit more of the magenta color. You could do this, I mean, when you think about it, last year at this time, I saw the Facebook pictures had popped up. I had a tree out in my front yard that fell over. We had a storm blow through and it just fell over. And I don't know, I think it was one of those kind of pear trees that you're supposed to get rid of because it, I don't know, it never had pears on it, but it had the most beautiful white blooms ever, gorgeous blooms. And so I took a lot of pictures of it because this tree had fallen over and you could just walk in it. It was just so cool because it was just blooms everywhere. But anyway, did a lot of gorgeous trees that put some really pretty blossoms. It seems like they're mainly the white or redbud trees. Kind of going in and kind of loud. Need it to sit still. Let's see. Bradford pears. Yeah, those are the pretty ones, aren't they? The Bradford pear trees. Isn't there a kind of pear tree that you're not supposed to have anymore, though? I thought there was one kind that they were like wanting people to get rid of, and I don't know what that was. I used to have 3 apple trees in my little pasture in the back, and a pear tree and a peach tree. And the poor little peach tree, it just never did amount to much, but the apple trees were great, and then all of a sudden they just died within like a year's time. I don't know what happened to them. They didn't seem to get bugs or anything. It was just really weird. And then the little pear tree got damaged in a windstorm to where it's still there, but it's pretty messed up. This is so pretty. This is really relaxing, I think. I think this is the relaxing part, the dabbing. I don't know why that cat is having a hissy fit. You hear him? He's just walking around the house meowing. Did you lose somebody, Gizmo? Let's see. Oh, hi, Amy. How are you? Hi, Emily. Lots of people popping in. I sure hope that people will join us. We'll do this again next Monday, and I'll be looking for ideas. If you have something in particular you want to try, send it to me and we'll see what we can do. Otherwise, I'll come up with something. I kind of forget about it until about Friday, and then I start looking. I have a few black canvases that I saw some photographs of tulips. They were actual photographs with the black background. And so I kind of want to try that and see how that works. I think it'll be really striking, but I don't know. I don't know if that's something everybody would want to do. I used to have a lot of flowers where I used to live, and then when I moved here, I don't know, I just have never really, I've got a few rose bushes, but that's about it. I have all my plants from school I brought home, but they're not flowering plants. When I first moved here, I got this great backyard, you know, with the tall fence and everything, and so I wanted a little goat. So I bought me a little tiny pygmy goat, adorable little thing. But right before, I swear, like the week before, I had bought all these little yew plants and little shrubs. I think they were yews, little shrubs to put around my backyard, and I had a little fountain area and had a little area blocked off with those little castle stones where I was gonna put flowers in and stuff. And also had some rose bushes back there. I put quite a bit of stuff in. And within a week of getting that little goat, he had eaten everything. He just ate it down. I thought he was supposed to only eat weeds, but they like flowers really well. At least this one did. Anyway, but goats are fun. I don't have any goats anymore, but I wouldn't mind having another one. They are really fun to watch. This one we called Victor, and he was a character. Okay, I think I'm done. I kind of like it. So, I usually use a Sharpie to sign your name. That's the easy way to do it. I don't even think I have one out here right now. But when you're finished with your art, you're supposed to sign your name. I don't sign mine very often, but you can. You can sign it right there. And I guess that's about it. Anybody have any questions? So, okay, you got to post me pictures of your paintings. Hey, Amy. Yay, good. I'm glad. Yes, come on back whenever it's on here. I've seen a lot of dark purple here, and I'm not thinking I want to keep all that on there. I may go back in and lighten some of that up a little. Sometimes I like it, sometimes I don't. Dabbing away. Yeah, I do like that. I think my moons came out better on this one than they did on the first one. Little tricks. Make it fun. A nanny goat. Yeah, I've had, my friend Kathy gave me 2 goats. Well, Victor, something got Victor. I think it was like a bobcat, because he could protect himself. He would butt people or whatever. And so I don't think it could have been a dog or anything like that that got in the fence and got him. But we think it was a bobcat, because whatever got him from above, like jumped on his back and tore his neck and caught, that way. So anyway, after Victor died and sometime afterwards, Kathy had goats for a while, and so she ended up giving me 2 of her goats, and we called them, oh gosh, what were their names? Oh, it's just there and I forgot. One was, Victor was a pygmy goat, and these guys were Nigerian dwarf goats mixed with pygmy. And they were not as, they were friendlier and tamer, but, I mean, Victor was tame. He would, you could pet him and everything, but you didn't want to turn your back on him, because he would, and he was neutered. I had all of them neutered, so, because you don't want them not neutered. They can be really mean. But I know one time one of my grandsons was standing on the deck, and Victor got behind him, and I was like, oh no, I could see him, and he just butted it. He ducked his head, and he took off running and butted Christian off the deck. He flew about 6 feet, but he was okay. But anyway, pygmy goats are like little gymnasts. They like to get up on the highest thing they can. All goats do, but pygmy goats, they like dance and twirl and jump, and anyway, they're just hilarious. They're beautiful to watch. Oh, thank you, Nancy. That's very sweet. These are fun. So, anyway, I guess finish up, and if anybody has ideas for next time, please put them on there. If any of you want to buy paintings from me, that would be nice too. I've sold a few this week, and can always sell a few more. I've got a lot. I have them posted down below, I think. I went in, I put in the sizes, and some of them are on the flat canvas board like this. Some of them are on the stretch canvas like that one. And not sure what else I need to do. Oh, that's pretty. Post it on that. Hey, Tyler, post it on the Facebook. Is it on there? That is cool. I can't, your colors though, I can't tell. Those almost look like fall leaves. Are they pink? I can't tell from the photo. That looks really nice. I think you're done. That looks really good. Beautiful job. I'm impressed, guys. So post me your pictures, guys, so we can see what everybody did. That's the fun thing about the painting parties, is that we all get in a line and we take a group picture, and we can't do a group picture this way unless everybody posts theirs and can line them all up that way. That'd be cool. Alrighty. Well, I guess I will log off of here unless anybody needs anything. If anybody's got any questions, ask me now. Otherwise, I'll log on off. I think we were quicker this time. And I was kind of concerned this painting might take a while. Wow, you guys did fast, did good. So you got your picture on here, Christy? Hang on, I gotta figure out where I'm at. Let me see. Figure out how to. Oh, use the red and orange. Yeah, that's cool. That looks good. Yeah, I hate that my little video is sideways in the beginning. That's not good. Huh. Oh, that's... Show me your pictures. I want to see them. Okay. Alrighty. Well, I will, hopefully, when you finish up, you will post your paintings on this page. I think you can do that. I think so. I think they did last time. And keep tuned. I will post some ideas, or if you have ideas of something you'd like to learn how to paint, let me know on here on this Diana's Paint Party page. And we will see you again next Monday. All right. Bye, guys.